G'day mates, welcome back to my YouTube channel. In today's video, I'm going to be covering everything that happened today in the NA East Dreamhack Finals. If you looked anywhere on social media, you know today's video is going to be a banger. There is a lot to talk about. We pretty much had all the top tier teams in NA contested by the top teams in EU, which always creates drama because the terms of griefing always thrown around. They're not taking the tournament seriously, but then the EU players are still doing well. Then you've got the EU fans saying that they're top tier EU players. They drop these drop spots on their region. Why can't they drop there on NA? It always creates a big debate around region locking, and it always creates a whole bunch of beef on the timeline. And I'm talking big names. I'm talking Bucke and Khanada's Game 6 going down on spawn in first place to Marion and El Nuif. I hope I said Murray and Lenny's name right. You guys know I always struggle on that one. We had Bucke and Macwood going down to Hen and Chapix. We had Booga and Zypher going up against Anas and Flick all day. Like, it was crazy. Like, literally, this is one of the most insane tournaments I've ever watched, and I want to discuss this topic of should tournaments like Dreamhack be region locked, or are they good how they are right now? Also, I've seen a few clips going around recently that have me really concerned about the current situation with hacking in Fortnite. I've always been one to say that the anti-cheat is really, really good, and for the most part, Fortnite's doing a great job. There's just, a few hackers in tournaments, and I wish that Epic responded a bit faster, but the amount of hackers is currently rising, and I'm currently seeing hackers targeting streamers to promote the hacks they sell on their social media. Like, this is getting to the point of where we could go down the slippery slope of turning into whatever the hell is going on over at Warzone, where a lot of people are straight up just quitting the game because of cheaters. Let's start off by addressing this whole situation with Dreamhack and whether I think Dreamhack or other tournaments should be region locked. Straight out the gate, I'm going to let you guys know that I'm going to be trying to remain as impartial as possible. I'm going to present what happened. I'm going to try to give my honest opinion when I can, but for the most part, I'm going to try to avoid picking sides because I respect all these pros. I like all of them. I consider all of them friends, and I don't like getting in between, especially when it's two different pros from two different regions, because things always get super, super messy and there's always so many differing opinions. I can watch the games and think, hey, this team's playing super aggressive, they're playing really weird, but at the same time, a lot of them, that's just their strategy, that's how they play. And then you only people who really know what's going on are the pros who normally are DMing each other behind the scenes. They know the true intentions of the other pros. I myself can't really follow it too much. I even got called out today by Chappies because when I was doing a viewing party, I commented on the fact that I thought they were playing a bit aggressive. It didn't look like they were playing for endgame as much as what Bucke and Macwood were off spawn, and they were playing more to just kill Bucke and Macwood. But Chapix came out, called me out and said, look, we are playing for endgame. I thought those were smart pushes, and at the end of the day, I watched a lot of Fortnite guys, but I'm not really going to argue with FNCS champions and some of the best players in the world. If they tell me that they think that's a good fight and that's how they're going to play their tournament, I'm not usually going to start digging and trying to prove them wrong. It's just not my position. But I do want to present what happened and give my opinion on it because I try to stay unbiased in this because I'm not NA. I'm not EU. I'm not NA versus EU. I watch all the tournaments and I love all the regions. So at the same time, I get to try to give what is as unbiased of an opinion as possible. And I think where the issue arises in these situations is EU qualifies a lot for NA tournaments. NA doesn't qualify that much for EU. I know all the EU fans in the comments are going to be like, yeah, because EU's better. NA's terrible. That's why they suck. Stop complaining. But I also think there are other factors at work. The fact that there's just way more EU players. EU is just a much bigger region statistically. There's gonna be more pros, therefore there's gonna be more of them playing in the NA tournaments, and also the timing of EU is incredibly early. I know it sounds dumb, but most Fortnite pros don't play tournaments for 1 p.m. They just simply don't. It's always been an issue. Think about how many times pros have slept through tournaments that start at literally 2 p.m. So NA happening after EU tends to usually have a lot more of the EU pros able to play than NA pros who want to wake up early for EU. For example, today's finals for NA East, there was 12 teams qualified from EU on NA East. That is almost a quarter of the lobby. That's 24 of the 100 people playing. You compare that to EU, that only has 2 NA teams playing, and one of the players, Reet, is from NA West. Reet and Joji managed to qual on 160 ping for Reet, which is just absolutely disgusting. Right now, Reet is the undisputed high ping king. Like, that is just, he's winning Asia Cash Cups, he's almost winning NA East Cash Cups, and he's qualifying for an EU Dreamhack finals. Like, ridiculous. But We're going to focus on the whole region locking thing. And then I think where the issue arises is these EU pros are phenomenal and they've staked their drop spot. When you think of Craggy Cliffs on EU, you think Hen, Janice, and Chapix. No one would argue that they should be going Craggy Cliffs. That is their drop spot. But then when you think of NA Craggy Cliffs, you think of Bucke and Macwood. They've been going there with Khanada or with now Clicks and Creo. Like, they've been jumping around teams, but those two players, especially Bucke and Macwood, have been going Craggy for seasons. So of course they're both going to drop there and they're both going to know how to play it. But because it's an NA tournament, I feel like a lot of the NA pros have this idea that the EU pros just aren't trying. They're just going to key them and not take it seriously and not play for endgame. And I get why the NA pros have this feeling as well, because a lot of the EU pros don't end up placing that highly on the leaderboard in the NA tournaments. They win a lot of spawn fights and I'll give them that, but at the same time, quite often the EU pros don't place that highly. And of course, it's 100+ ping. It's very, very hard to place on NA finals, but that's where the impression comes from. Why are you guys keying me? Why are you playing aggressive? You're not going to place anyway. I'm doing really, really well. And in the situation we had today, where Bucke and Macwood, got upwards of second place, really had a good shot of the tournament until last game they got really, really aggressively pushed by Hen and Chapix, you start to question, are they just griefing them? Are they just targeting them? And you fully understand where the frustration from the NA pros come from. But again, going back, I'm trying to stay unbiased here. Whenever I watch the EU pros play, they play pretty aggressive around their drop spots. Hen, Janice, and Chapix very often will push Stealthy Stronghold, push Pleasant for their Storm Surge. They play a lot more aggressive. Again, the pros behind scenes, they DM each other. They know what's going on. I'm not trying to pick sides here. I just want to present the facts and the situations because, man, today was insane. Like, Booga Zypher was such an interesting fight to watch against Anas and Flick. They were just 50-50ing the henchman drop every single time. I don't even really want to say who came out on top in that fight because they both did pretty terribly overall. We even had one point we had Anas rocking the Booga skin, hitting the Booga Homer Grind emote on Booga after pickaxing him. Then we had Booga and Zypher come back with the German Mogul Masters despite them being Dutch. I learned that today as well. So I don't know, NA education on top there. I think that was their little bit of a clapback. It was entertaining to watch, but there was way less beef and way less drama there because I think both teams were playing pretty emotional and pretty aggressive to just eliminate each other. They weren't trying to do well, but it was really around the other teams like Bucke and Macwood who had a real shot to win the tournament, or even worse yet, Saf and Khanada, who were winning the tournament until game 6. They get dropped on and get eliminated by an EU team that they feel extra passionate about Dreamhack being region locked. So let's cover a few of these situations, let you guys decide what's going on and whether the fights were stupid. Let's start off by looking at Khanada and Saf versus Marion and El Nuif. And again, my EU fans, sorry if I'm pronouncing those names wrong. They've always been the toughest ones, but these guys are always in my videos. Now, Khanada and Saf were in first place going into game 6. They got dropped on by Marion and El Nuif, who eliminated them on spawn, which dropped them from 1st down to 5th. This prompted Saf to then tweet out, obviously pretty frustrated. He tweeted out saying, 5th with Khanada, 4,500, won 2 games while contested the whole tourney. Again, they weren't contested the whole tourney, but I'll give Saf this one. They were contested almost every single game. They got to make these tourneys region locked for them to be competitive. GG's. Then Khanada also tweeted out, GG, died off spawn EU kids. I wish I could contest them on their region, but they cannot even qual on their region. Just sad. Now, I'm not coming at Saf and Khanada for saying this. I fully get the frustration, and this is why I could never compete in Fortnite. These guys have a way better mental than me, and I'm a grown-ass man. Like, it's unbelievable. These guys can just get dropped on, have their tournament ruined, and then just go again and play the next tournament. It seriously blows my mind. But do I think what Marion and El Nuif were doing was griefing? Well, the situation's a bit different. They didn't drop their game 1 and game 2. Khanada did really well game 1. They actually got a game 1 victory royale, which is where they got a lot of their points. Then from there, game 2, they were uncontested. They struggled for Storm Surge and went down early. Then they started getting dropped on in game 3. By this point, they're not in first place on the leaderboard anymore. This isn't like a targeted grief. Marion and El Nuif aren't looking around being like, oh, cool, who's doing well? Let's land on them. They just saw the Believers Beach only had one team and thought, hey, let's try and drop there for a better chance at games. Game 3, obviously, is where they go down really early. They do die to the EU team, Marion and El Nuif. But game 4, they're dropped on again. They go on to get a 9 Elim Vic Roy, and they're back up on the top of the leaderboard. Then game 5, they verse them again. They win on spawn, but they go down in 20th. And then game 6 is when they then go down on spawn. This is the part that I fully get from both sides. I understand why, Saf and Khanada are so frustrated to get contested by EU players, but I don't think Marion and El Nuaf were deliberately trying to throw their tournament. You can even see in game 6, they were playing aggressive, they were keying a lot of people around the map because they were just keying because they needed to get big points on the board to try to jump up in the money. But then when they ran into Bucke and Macwood, who were being held over at Stealthy Stronghold by Hen and Chapix, which I'll talk in a second, they didn't storm fight them. They still played the rotate, and they didn't even hold them on the edge of storm. They rotated to center of map to play their game out better. So when I could see them playing, I thought they were playing pretty well for endgame and trying their best in the tournament as well. But then I also fully understand the frustration of Khanada and Saf, especially Khanada, because it was last Dreamhack finals with Macwood that Khanada and Macwood were also doing really well, set to win the tournament, and got dropped on by an EU team that also cost them their tournament. Again, it's that situation of Marion and El Nuaf are really, really phenomenal EU players. They probably want a really good drop spot, and when their other drop spot didn't work, Believers Beach seemed like a drop spot to make it work from. It's where a lot of players, even Calc tweeted out his opinion saying that if you're dropping a drop and you're not doing very well going into your last game, and you're dropping on a team that is doing really well, out of respect, you should go a different drop. This has people really torn because it's a really sportsman-like, respectful thing to do, and I would love to see more players do this, but at the same time, that could potentially ruin the integrity. If there's another team that was in second place getting dropped on all day, they get dropped on again and they go down, the team that now had the other team almost just let them win, technically, it's a weird situation. And this is why this whole video is going to be messy, and I hate picking sides, because as if you're an educated Fortnite viewer, you're probably thinking the same thing. Man, this is really hard to pick who's in the right and who's in the wrong, because I just don't think anyone is right or wrong in this situation. It's just really unfortunate that some players who could have done really well end up losing their tournament because of another team, but that other team isn't trying to make them lose, I don't think. My issue, when I call it griefing, and when I stand up and say that there's an issue with griefing in the game, and I've done that in the past, as you guys know, that was when a player or people are deliberately going out of their way to ruin the tournament for someone else. They're not doing what they think is best for their tournament. They're deliberately changing their entire tactic to affect somebody else's game and make them do poorly. That is the situation. Again, we've seen that done in the past in FNCS with Mongrel when he was winning FNCS, dropping on second place when they were in first, because all they had to do was make sure the team beneath them in second didn't do well, and they win the tournament. But that's a respectable tactic because they want to win the tournament. They're trying to ruin their game, but it's to make their own tournament better. I have an issue when someone goes out of their way being like, all right, 5 games in, I'm on 8 points, I've got no chance at winning. Who's winning? That guy? I'm going to ruin his gameplay. That is griefing to me. And do I think that happened today with any of the teams? Not really. Moving on to Bucke and Macwood versus Hen and Chapix. I've talked about this a little bit. This was an interesting one, and this one was a bit tougher because this went way more to social media. We had the two teams beefing backwards and forwards. I'm sure they're in the DMs, so I think this one got a lot more personal. It's going to be a lot harder to differentiate if it was a grief or whether it was targeted, because I know there was a lot more on the line. There was a lot more emotions, and things were getting just far more heated. Khanada and Saf versus Marion and El Nuaf never really went to social media. Like I said, they kind of tweeted out, but it didn't get the same impact that Bucke and Macwood did. And obviously, Macwood's at the heart of a lot of drama right now. If you guys remember, he was going up against P-God's team on Spawn. That went to social media. That went crazy, and everyone freaked out. So it's just... Macwood's copping a lot of hate right now. Let's say that. He's got the Spanish community against him, or the Hispanic community, I should say, and now he's also got the EU community against him. Don't think Macwood really cares that much, but this one's harder for me to differentiate because, like I said, in the first game, Macwood's team won on Spawn. They won the Spawn fight. After that, because they were doing so well, Macwood and Bucke got a 7 elim second in their first game, putting them way up on the leaderboard. I think they started playing to disengage a bit more. They won that first Spawn fight. Game 2, they went down on Spawn. From then on, their tactic very much was to disengage, grab as much loot as they could at Craggy, try to play their tournament out, try to play well. It's because Hen and Chapix kept pushing them that a lot of people started to question whether this was targeted, but at the same time, Hen and Chapix explaining, like I said on social media or in my chat or in my DMs, because I was like, look man, I'm not trying to call you guys out in front of my viewers, that's just not my style, that's just how they play Craggy. They want to get their Storm Surge, they want to win the fights, elims are worth 6 points each, they want to play aggressive, that's their play style. So that's where things got really, really messy, and a lot of the times Bucke and Macwood would get away. They would disengage more north. They would go loot around Flopper Island. They would find their way back through, and quite often their rotate path would collide with Hen and Janice again. Hen and Chapix, sorry. They would combine with Hen and Chapix again. So that's where it kind of got really awkward. I will note as well that no one in this situation, Saf, Khanada's fight, or Bucke Macwood was streaming. So there's no allegations of stream sniping. There's none of that, which is nice. If it was targeted, it was just based off seeing their skins or seeing a team rotating out of Storm and thinking it was a good fight, which at least makes this a lot less annoying than when their people are streaming and everyone's accusing them of stream sniping. So that situation, I don't want to break down too much as well, because I just don't want to get into the drama. I'm going to be honest. Obviously, Macwood and Chapix went at it on Twitter, and they have all the responses there that you can kind of read their opinions on it. You can go back in the replay mode and watch it. The unfortunate thing was that Bucke and Macwood had a really, really good chance to do well in this tournament, same as Saf and Khanada. But unfortunately, game 6, they did get aggressively pushed by Hen and Chapix again over at Stealthy Stronghold. They made it out of that. They then got aggressively pushed again by Marion and El Nuif, who then disengaged. Macwood had one of the most insane solo clutches ever. My man was running around for 5 minutes with only one build, just running around with a sniper, trying to make things work. Like, it was seriously, seriously intense. He couldn't pull it off in the end, and they did manage to drop right down the leaderboard to 7th. And I think that's where the frustration came in from, because if you look at the leaderboard, I'm trying to look here, the highest placing EU team was ADN and King Michael, who were actually dropping around Camp Cod area in 14th. They were not playing super aggressive at all. Then other than that, you have Andalix and Snazy that were dropping caddy corners, but again, they were contesting Censored and Commandment, but they never really aggressively pushed them that much. There were some aggressive pushes, but they weren't landing directly on top of them. You then had Tayson and Thomas HD dropping Dirty Docks uncontested, just showing how much respect that even NA has for Tayson and Thomas HD, giving them one of the best drops on the map, uncontested as an EU team. If I keep going down after that, you had Yassir's team. I'm not entirely sure what they were dropping. Then you have Bad Sniper and DKS, again, uncontested. They weren't really going after anyone. And then you had Flick and Anas in 29th, Chapix and Hen in 30th, and then El Nuif and Marion in 33rd. So a lot of these EU teams that were contesting NA were around 30th place compared to the NA guys who were all top 10, top 5 chance to win it. And that is where all the frustration comes from. So do I think these tournaments should be region locked? Maybe. I think a lot of people say that basically if it gets to set lobbies, if it's going to be a set lobbies final, it should be region locked, because Dreamhack is really the only tournament like that where it's not region locked. Some of the creator cups that come out, like the Epic Whale Squad Cup, those aren't normally region locked. Cash Cups aren't region locked, but Dreamhack is the only constant tournament with set lobbies that isn't region locked. So players can get to the finals and drop spots matter so much. Cash Cups, I don't really care. I don't think it's a big deal. If Khanada's team runs into Marion's team in a trio cash cup on NA, they go up Believers Beach and one of them dies, I don't think anyone cares. But when there's 6 games of set lobbies and they're dropping on each other again and again, that's where the frustration comes from. So potentially, maybe Dreamhack should be region locked. As a viewer, I love watching the EU and NA guys go head to head. The games are phenomenal. It creates these storylines and it does make things more entertaining, but I fully understand where the players are coming from. So I know that was a long part of the video devoted towards that. I wanted to cover it as best as possible for those of you guys who are confused on the situation, who didn't get the context. Like I said, I've tried my best to present both sides of the story here. I'm sorry if I came across biased towards any of them. I just don't want to pick sides in this situation, and I fully get it from both sides. Now, on to more positive things. Let's look at the actual leaderboard, because man, I was so happy to take a look at this. We had Rise on top of a set lobby leaderboard, I believe for the first time with Miro, and I'm just gonna say, if you go back to my video a week ago, I called out a few teams I thought was going to do well at the very first round 1 of Dreamhack. Everyone asked me on stream, who do I think is going to do well? And my first pick was Miro and Rise, and they managed to win it on 326 points, 25 points clear of second, which was Nut and Skittles, who played really well. 33 height only is Nut, and man, they played height aggressively. That was pretty much the key to their success so far. Miro and Rise played an all-round incredibly solid tournament, really consistent. Their second game being a 13 elim third really carried them through, and that last game clutch of a 4 elim third. Now, Day and Clicks almost pulled off the Cinderella comeback of a lifetime. And I mean, Clicks and Day have won a Dreamhack before. We know they can do it, but they were down on leaderboard. Like, not super far down. I believe they were just outside top 10 or maybe just around top 10 coming into the last game, and they dropped a 14 elim second. This was disgusting. This was Day just going full Day, piecing people on high ground, full boxing them, destroying them, and then Clicks, unfortunately, I'm sorry, man, if you're watching this to do this to you. Clicks was in my stream when I was actually watching the last game. He did the Clicks classic again. He messed up the medkit in the final 1v1 to win the game. It wouldn't have won them the tournament, but it would have got them second place. It was a good laugh, and I'm going to take this as yet again a learning experience. Pros out there, the medkit has an animation at the end of the timer that takes roughly half a second. So if the medkit's saying like 8, and then you're ticking down to 80, and then 7, then 70, you're not going to get it off in time. You need like at least half a second to a full second's tick to get the medkit off. Please, I don't want to see anyone else mess up medkits. I know it's stressful. I wouldn't even get to the point of messing up the medkit. So I'm not judging you guys. I'm just trying to help you so it doesn't happen to you. We then had the last Dreamhack champions, DGen and Ages, in 4th on 282. They were triple or quadruple contested for most of the tournament at Corny Complex, which caused a bunch of issues for them. We had Khanada and Saf in 5th. I've already talked about that. Slacks and Illis doing really, really well out of their Hydro Dam Flush Factory split. We then have Macwood and Bucky in 7th. I already talked about that. Chrysox and Yelty, which I was super proud of them. They were doing really well out of contested retail, and just their luck as the Hispanic community and 2 of the biggest Hispanic pros, they were also contested by 2 other Hispanic pros at retail. I just don't understand why this seems to happen. I was watching a massive storm fight earlier in the tournament, and it was the only 2 NA West teams in the whole tournament were storm fighting each other. Just, I don't know how they grief each other, but they do. We had Bully and Slick in 9th, and then we had Crip and Aviv in 10th. Overall, it was a phenomenal tournament to watch. I know a lot of the focus went into the whole griefing and should it be region locked and these pros versus these pros, but ultimately Dreamhack still is one of my favorite tournaments. For some reason, they always have the craziest zones. It's duos, which is my favorite game mode, and because you have those EU names and NA names, once you get around all the spawn beef and the spawn drama, you just have phenomenal end games with phenomenal pros. Like Tayson and Thomas HD at one point were top 3. Like, there were some EU guys showing up really, really big on NA to push the quality of the games that much higher. And that's why I do understand the tournament not being region locked as well. All right, moving on to another topic that is a bit more negative as well, but this one does concern me a little bit. I've always been one of the main people saying that Fortnite's anti-cheat is actually phenomenal. I've been playing this game since season 2, and I've never once myself ran into a hacker. You see them hackers because a lot of people are doing viewing parties or in tournaments. You see them getting, you know, 50 elims jumping around the map, no scoping. They're killing big streamers, so you go and watch them, or they're streaming it. And I said that Epic needs to take action on those people quicker in tournaments, and they started doing that. So things were looking really, really good, but I'm starting to notice a big rise in people selling cheats online for Fortnite, especially when I was scrolling TikTok and I saw this video actually recommended to me, which is a player who is advertising selling hacking to kill Rel and Oatly. Again, 2 very big content creators. They play with Mr. Fresh Asian, 2 pros in the OCE scene, and this is a scary slippery slope. This is like how things started with other games like Warzone, where there was a huge market of selling cheats. Let me show you the clip. I'm obviously going to blur out their name and then cut out where Rel says it, because I don't want to promote these hacks, and I don't want you guys to go looking for them, because that is what will kill Fortnite. I guarantee it.
Oh.
Default skin. Oh my god, that's
They do not look that good.
He's got good aim though.
That's, you know what that means.
Good aim, bro. Good aim! Oh my god!
Oh my god, insane aim! What the f... Is he cheating?
No! What? No.
He is a... This guy's a cheat. No, he is. He sells cheats on Twitter, bro.
Oh my, there's no way.
This kid sells cheats on Twitter, bro.
I was gonna say. Ready up, don't check replays, just ready up.
Yeah, don't check replays.
Oh
no, I know
my
this
God.
kid, bro. I know this kid. He sells cheats on Twitter.
As well, bro. Oh my god, bro.
He used to be in
There's
like
no...
Guam and that, bro.
I was like...
Like I said, this is a scary situation because I believe Epic can get on top of this. They've always been a battle royale with one of the best anti-cheats out there. I've talked about in videos before how Warzone's anti-cheat got out of control. You guys have probably seen it. The players are just all flocking off Warzone because of how many hackers there are, and I really hope that Respawn and Warzone can get that under control because it's a phenomenal game that is very heavily affected by something that I imagine they're trying to control but struggling. And I know that sounds dumb. Oh, why don't you just get a better anti-cheat? And I have the same sentiment, but as I talk to more people, you start to realize that the market of selling and creating hacks is a billion-dollar industry. These companies are run by software engineers and coders who are trying to make hacks that are better than the anti-cheat at the same rate while the anti-cheat is trying to improve to stop the hackers, and they make a lot of money out of doing that. And again, Warzone hacks have become incredibly prevalent because a lot of the people selling them, or when you verse them, you think, okay, I'm sick of this, I'm sick of dying to hackers, let me see what this is all about, and more people are tempted to start doing it. And when I see people like this on Fortnite, that's what starts to scare me, and I hope Epic can really cut this down early rather than letting it get out of control. Alright guys, that does it for another video. I know it was a longer one. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please chuck a like on it. Remember, I will be doing a viewing party for the EU Dreamhack finals as well. So if you just finished watching the video, maybe Dreamhack's going on right now, check out my Twitch channel, twitch.tv/Aussie Antics. Chuck me a follow. You'll know when I'm live then. If you guys have any thoughts on today's video, please let me know in the comment section down below. If you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel. It would mean the world to me. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you in the next one.